In this video, I'm going to show you the exact steps I would take if I wanted to grow as a jazz musician as quickly as possible in 2026. So, step number one is I would listen to a lot of jazz. Now, for some reason, a lot of people skip this very important step. So they'll go straight into books, or they'll go to lead sheets, or they'll go to tutorials, YouTube videos, they'll go to exercises, and all sorts of things. But they seem to forget that jazz is really a language, and you cannot learn a language without hearing it first. So the very first thing that I would do is I would pick jazz musicians that I actually will first of all enjoy listening to, and then very importantly I would pick musicians who are easy for me to hear and to understand. So I made the mistake early on in my learning of trying to figure out what people like Herbie Hancock were doing, or what McCoy Tyner was doing, and it was really beautiful stuff, I have to admit, but I couldn't really apply it on any jazz standard. So there were no 2-5-1s in their songs, you know. At least the ones I was learning didn't have 2-5-1s. The harmony was complex, and the playing, to be honest, was too fast for me at the time. So this time, because remember I'm starting over, so this time I would actually pick someone that I can actually follow. Someone maybe like Red Garland, because his playing is beautiful, it's melodic, and it's very, very clear. Oh, and most importantly, he swings a lot, right? So the first album that I would actually pick of Red is called A Garland of Red. So I actually want us to listen to just a snippet of the first song on the album. It's called A Foggy Day. So have a listen to this. I mean, isn't that just amazing? After listening to that, I can actually sing that back, you know. So I heard ba 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 dee, ba 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 bee, really swinging, really melodic. That's worth really checking out. So if I were starting from scratch, I would put this album on every single day. I would play it when I'm driving, I would play it when I'm walking, I'll play it when I'm cooking. Okay, you know what, I actually don't cook, so I'll play it while I'm eating. Okay, because what I really want is to just get that sound into my ears, and while I'm listening to this, I probably won't listen to anything else for quite a period of time, because if you want to grow quickly as a jazz musician, the main thing you have to do is you have to immerse yourself in the sound of music, right? So you really have to get into the sound of the music, and then that's how you'd learn the language. Now, step number two, what I would do next is I would actually practice ear training, but every day. And by every day, I mean every single day. Because jazz music and jazz musicians generally, we rely heavily on our ears. So your ear is what's going to help you to recognize melodies. It will help you to recognize bass notes, and it will help you figure out the quality of the chord, whether it's a major 7 or minor 7 or a minor 7 flat 5. Your ear will help you to hear that, and you will your ear helps you to recognize harmonic movement. So you'll be like, hang on, isn't that just a 2-5-1, or isn't that just a turnaround? Aren't we just going to chord 4 here, you know? So fortunately, there are now so many free apps and websites that that can actually help you to practice these things. So most of them focus on learning intervals. So for instance, you might get asked, you might hear 2 notes, right? So if this is your first note and then you hear that as your second, it might say, okay, what interval is that? And with some training and practice, you will soon be saying, hang on, that's a major third, or that's a minor third, or hang on, that's a minor 7th. Okay, so we want to get in the habit of really hearing our intervals, because I mean, learning these intervals is extremely helpful, because music is actually built from these relationships between the notes. And the stronger your ear becomes, the easier it is to figure out things directly from recordings, which is really how it should be done. And then what this is going to do is it's just going to dramatically speed up your growth as a musician. Okay, so I'll definitely focus on my ear training every single day. Now, step number 3. Hi there. By you watching this video, I'm guessing you either love jazz and you want to know how to play it on your instrument, or there's something that you're struggling with on your musical journey and you're looking for a solution. If that's the case, I would like to invite you to the Jazz Breakthrough Challenge. This is a 5-day live coaching experience with myself that's all done on Zoom. By the end of the challenge, you'll have real clarity on what to practice and how to practice. You will have a very clear roadmap on how to become the jazz musician you've always dreamed of becoming. If this sounds great to you, I want you to join the next Jazz Breakthrough Challenge. So scan the QR code or click the link in the description. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Now let's jump back into the video. Step number 3. I would learn to sing the melody. So again, for some reason, this is something that many instrumentalists skip. Like all my students, not even most of them, all of them, for some reason, skip this very important step right here, because they want to rush straight to the lead sheet to learn the melody from there. You know what? In my opinion, terrible move, because singing is incredibly powerful. So before trying to play the melody on the piano or just getting the lead sheet and trying to play it from there, I would first actually try to just sing the melody. So just like with that Red Garland thing that we played earlier, I mean, I sang back what I was hearing. You know, there's this old phrase among jazz musicians which says, if you can't sing it, you can't play it. It's as simple as that. So what's happening when jazz musicians are playing is they're not just moving their fingers around randomly. They're usually playing the things that they're hearing in their heads. So if you listen to players like Keith Jarrett, Bud Powell, Barry Harris, Oscar Peterson, you'll notice the one thing, which for me it's a bit funny, but the one thing they have in common is they all sing what they're playing. So, and I must admit, it's not necessarily beautiful singing, you know. Some of it is just like, you know, so not necessarily beautiful, but their playing is really just an expression of the melodies that they're hearing in their heads, and that's the most important thing. So what singing will do for you is it helps to connect your ear, and your ear is the closest to your imagination, right? So it connects whatever you're hearing to your fingers. Okay, and that's how you become a jazz musician quickly. So my ultimate goal is to get the ideas that are in my head onto my fingers directly and through the instrument. Okay, I guess that's why it's called an instrument, right? It's the thing that we use to express our ideas. All right, let's go to step number 4. So I've now learned to sing the melody, right? And by doing that, I've trained my ear. What I now want to do is I want to learn to sing the bass notes, okay? Because this for me is important, okay? Even Drake sang the song, we started from the bottom and now we're here. We have to start from the bottom. You know, we do that with everything else. If you're building a house, I mean, we never start with the roof. We always start with the foundation. So when I'm learning a song, no lead sheet, I am going to try and figure out the bass notes, okay? Just using my ears. And this is trial and error. It's a hit and miss. I'm actually going to go to that Red Garland tune that I played earlier because I don't know it that well. So this is a good one to actually show you my process. So, okay, I'm going to skip this stuff. I'm going to go here. So the note there is really da. The bass player is really playing or walking around that note. Ba. So he's playing B ba ba ba, but really the The tonal, well, not the tonal center, but the bass note that is playing around is dum. And with ear training and experience, you'll hear these things. Okay, so I'll probably do another video at some point, to maybe even a course, just an ear training one, to enable you to start hearing bass lines. Okay, but to cut the long story short, I'm hearing a C. I can hear. So, well, first of all, I can already tell the tonal center, the song's in the key of C, and I'm just using that. I mean, I can tell that by just using my ears, you know. And like I said, it comes with experience, but I'll show you how to do it later. But I'm hearing da da da. So I'm really hearing a 1 going to chord 2, but it's going via a flat 2. Okay, and if you know things like theory, you'll know that usually a flat 2 diminished chord takes you to chord 2. So five, so it's a 2-5, and 2-5 is one of the common progressions in jazz. So if I know my bass notes, that's at least what I'm hearing so far. And with my knowledge of theory, I can sort of guess what's really happening here. So chord progression is probably okay. It's simply a 1 chord going to chord 2 via the flat 2 diminished, and then chord 5. Okay, so it's really just a little 2-5 progression that's happening there. But anyway, learning the bass notes is really going to help me know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so that is going to be step number 4, right? So bass kind of gives me an idea of the harmonic structure of the music. Like I was saying things there like 1, flat 2, 2, 5, right? Which are things that ideally you want to know. But that's probably going to take us to the next step just now. Okay, but basically, if you right, you've got to know the bass notes, right? So I would listen very carefully and try and sing the bass notes, and then I would go to my instrument and try and find them. And like I said, it's just fishing for the notes, really. And if you know some theory, a lot of these things become quite obvious. And this is a process that gets easier the more you do it, right? So once I know the bass notes, I can start figuring out the chords, okay? And then the harmony of the song now starts to really make sense, okay? But anyway, I've been kind of saying this, that although learning songs by ear is quite powerful, you're actually going to learn much faster and figure these things out faster if you understand what you are hearing. So like I understood that, okay, this is chord 1, this is my tonal center. I understood that this is a 2-5. I understood that you go to chord 2 through a flat 2 diminished. Okay, so this brings us to step number 5. And step number 5 is I would learn the fundamentals. And I wouldn't just learn them, I would learn them very deeply. So your fundamentals are things like scales, things like chords, things like chord progressions, things like just general harmonic formula that's used in jazz. You want to know your backdoor dominance. You want to know about sixth chords and all that sort of stuff. So let's say a song is in the key of B, right? I need to understand things like, okay, what's the B major scale? If I'm in the key of B, then you need to know that, well, what chords are in the key of B? You need to know that, okay, that's chord 1. Chord 2, in fact, since it's jazz, we're dealing with 7th chord, so chord 1 is B major 7, chord 2, C sharp minor 7, chord 3, D sharp minor 7, chord 4, E major 7, chord 5, F sharp 7, dominant 7, chord 6, A flat minor, G sharp minor 7. Chord 7 is A sharp minor 7 flat 5. So I've got to know these things, I've got to understand them. And once I know that, I can then ask myself things like, wait, what are the functions of those chords? So I should know that chord 2, C sharp minor 7, right? So if I'm to play one of the common chord progressions like 2-5-1, in that key, I need to know that, okay, in the key of B, 2-5-1 is simply C sharp minor 7 to F sharp 7 to B major 7. Okay, so we want to know these things, because once you understand the fundamentals, something amazing happens, you know, because you're going to begin to hear the logic, actually to see and to hear the logic behind the music. You're going to start hearing these fundamentals everywhere, you know. So the fundamentals are incredibly important. So they're not just something that you learn and then you move on to the next thing. They're actually, I would say, the equivalent of grammar. So they are the grammar of the jazz language. So they really form the foundation for your jazz playing. So I would definitely spend a lot of time on these. If you want to learn the fundamentals in the right order, right? I've already created something to help you with that, and it's my Jazz Piano Fundamentals course. So inside that course, I walk you step by step through the exact foundations that you need to understand. So we'll work through chords, scales, chord progressions, and chord construction, you know, jazz harmony. And we're just going to learn how these things actually work inside real music. So we're actually going to analyze tunes and be like, oh, this is what's happening when we play I Should Care, or this is what's happening when we play Autumn Leaves or Fly Me to the Moon, right? So I'm going to leave the link in the description if you'd like to check out that course. And if I wanted to make progress fast, I would definitely make sure that I've got the fundamentals in place. And once I've done that, this is step number 5 now, right? I would now go to step number 6, which is I would now start copying Red Garland. Okay, because I've now got everything that I need. I've got the bass lines, I've got the melody, I know my fundamentals. So once I copy, I'll be like, I see what's going on there. So I would go back to the recordings of Red Garland, and I would start copying what he's doing. So I'll probably start off with some small things. Okay, so I might copy a voicing, you know, or so one thing that I actually did earlier. So this is not theory about Red Garland. This is something I actually did, right? So I went to Red Garland, and as soon as I started copying his voicings, at the time I didn't know the names for these things, but I realized the voicings had no roots in them. The roots of the chords were being played by the bass player. Usually this was Paul Chambers playing the bass, you know, and Red was playing these rootless voicings in his left hand. I later learned that these are rootless voicings. Although I didn't call them that, I just used to refer to them as Red Garland voicings. And I think I still do. So it's just rootless voicings. So if you pick that out from a recording, that's cool, you know. You might pick something small like, hang on, that phrase, let me learn that Red Garland phrase. I actually have a video that I did years ago where I broke down a Red Garland phrase, and I'm just going to put the link somewhere here for you to check out, okay? So there's a short phrase for you already. Or it could even be the comping pattern, because one of the things that I loved about Red is when he was playing, let's say he's playing a blues, right? He often played off the beat, so it's like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. Two and 3 4 and 1 2 and 3 4. So he's often playing on the and. So that's already me learning something from Red and using it. So I'm using this on a 12-bar blues already, and I was using those rootless voicings that I learned from him. So copying someone is one of the oldest ways that jazz musicians learned. So they listened, most importantly, then they copied, you know. And by copying the great jazz musicians, what's going to happen is you're going to start absorbing the vocabulary of jazz. So just like learning phrases when you're studying a new language. So you could be learning French, you could be learning German, you could be learning Spanish, or you could be learning Shona, which is like my native language, right? So learning phrases, like how do you say good morning? That's going to help you. That's your way into the language, right? You will learn that faster than just like reading things from a book. So copying is the way to go. It's really one of the fastest ways to grow as a jazz musician. All right, so I've given you these 6 steps, and basically, if I really wanted to grow as a jazz musician as quickly as possible, so I don't think there's a faster way than this, right? So I definitely wouldn't try to learn everything at once. I would simply listen to jazz. I would train my ear. I would sing melodies. I would sing bass notes, and I would find them on my instrument. I would learn the fundamentals so that I actually understand. Okay, now I've got the bass line. What are the chords? You know, and remember to check out my jazz piano fundamentals course. Okay, and I would also copy the great jazz musicians. And what's going to happen is that over time, the language of jazz is going to slowly start to make sense. Okay, and once that happens, then playing jazz is going to become one of the most enjoyable musical experiences that you can have. So, if you're still with me here, you've reached the end of the video, and to me that means you're quite serious about learning jazz. So, I would like to invite you to my Jazz Breakthrough Challenge. It's only 1 week. And in this week, you're really going to be able to develop your personal roadmap for learning jazz and for your own jazz journey. Okay, so if you're not sure how to move from where you are to the musician you want to be, then this challenge is for you, and I would encourage you to check that out. I think it will change your life. Okay, so, and it's just going to change the way that you approach jazz piano in general. So you can sign up using the link that I'm going to put below. Now, I'm sure you're already subscribed to the channel. If not, please do that. That's just going to help this channel grow, and we can reach many people. It's just going to allow me to continue to put out content like this, make more courses, and all that sort of stuff. If you like what you've seen, please give it a thumbs up, give me a like, and if you've got any questions or comments, usually positive comments are what I encourage, then please put those in the comment section, and I hope to see you in the next video.